Alexandru Marin, structural engineer.
I'm Cristian Vimer, same occupation.
Well, I guess we're talking about the Brighton Beach, First Lane Brighton Beach project Bob developed a couple of years ago. That was a very interesting, unique project, mainly because the goal in the project wasn't really only to provide housing. It was to really provide housing that would save energy, improve quality of life with minimum impact on the environment. And it was definitely challenging from the very beginning because we had to really look at issues such as attaching to the structure of solar panels, wind turbines, all sorts of equipment that would pretty much generate energy from natural sources. In the city, it's pretty hard to actually do this. There are a lot of regulations, a lot of things you have to get through. And Bob was really determined to, try to tackle down all these issues and actually come up with a design that would pretty much yield a green building, bright and green. So structurally, what we did was literally designing a steel structure that would allow the installation of all these components, like green components. I mentioned solar panels and wind turbines, but there's so many other things, on the MEP side that needed to be attached to the building, incorporated into the project. I guess one other challenge was the actual location of the job. We couldn't really install a crane.
Well, yeah, it was. When we first saw the job, we were a little bit skeptical, like all the engineers are usually, because the architects come with all these great ideas, and the engineers usually shoot them down because it's not possible, or it's challenging, or it's too expensive, But we worked together and really created this unique structure and unique building, and not only that, but I think. And usually this never happens. Structural engineers' work is all hidden in the walls, and here we work together even to have it exposed.
Yeah.
So you can see the steel structure when you go inside the building, and we had to really design it so it helps the design of the building.
Yeah.
And not only that, but basically this is from our point of view, it was really interesting because we have basically two different structures. One is the building that's enclosed in these special curtain walls that are, insulating the building thermally almost perfect. But then we had to design almost another structure on top of it to support all the solar panels, the wind turbines, and the structure had very limited attachment to the building because you can't really penetrate the walls because you're losing all this thermal insulation for the building. So really, there was another structure covering the building, and that was the support for all the solar panels and everything else. Plus, there were a lot of specific challenges inside the building to accommodate all these special features of the building, all the mechanical stuff. I think it was the gray water recycling system, and so. We had to work together. Basically, we designed support for all this, green features of the building. Well, I think it's going to change everybody's attitude about green buildings because it's not only you have a green building just to feel better about yourself and say, when you see you're going to really save money, people will look at this differently because for this building, not only that you can save money and save energy, but almost if everything works fine, you can even produce energy. So basically, the building, instead of being a consumer, it will become like a producer of energy, and you can put it back into the network. So when people see this, it's like, you know, everybody likes to say that they're green and they're saving the planet and everything. But really, when you really save money, that's like a real change. It's not like usually when you say, okay, let's be green. Usually you think about spending more money.
Yeah.
But here it's like if you can save money, it's gonna change, all the opinion about these green buildings.
I also think the building could change attitudes by creating a precedent in terms of what people are used to see architecturally on the street. People look at buildings and they see brick buildings, small windows, or large windows, or glass, facades. This building, it's really showing people unique. It's showing people that a solar panel can be actually kind of a facade element in the end. It could be an architectural feature. A wind turbine could be an architectural feature. So I guess it is setting a precedent in a sense that people will get used to, hey, maybe it's not that bad to see a wind turbine, like walking down the street on a building. It could become part of a, cultural change, if you want to put it that way. So I think it could change attitudes in a way. It's definitely courageous, like you don't really see these things. Pretty much every architect would try to do something that would not, expose a piece of equipment and machinery, like right there on the facade. Whereas this building is doing it.
And especially a neighborhood like Brighton Beach, which is like very conservative,
it's very conservative.
Residential, normal houses, and all of a sudden you see this building surrounded by small residential houses, like single family houses, and you have this building that looks like a spaceship, basically.
Yeah.
And like he said, people will look differently at this kind of buildings instead of looking at just a normal brick facade or glass.
Maybe they will change their perception. They will actually be willing to install a wind turbine on their own roof and be proud of it. Be proud of the way it looks like, and not only what it does, maybe.
And not just because for the economic incentives.
Yeah.
We're working on installing a lot of solar panels on the roofs of existing buildings. We have quite a few projects, and I know more and more landlords, developers are going into this direction towards this, and it's been challenging because we had to install on very old buildings all these new solar panels with additional loads and very difficult to connect. Well, this one was better because everything was new.
Yeah.
And we had the privilege to design everything from scratch, basically.
As a conclusion, I would say that it's kind of setting a precedent, and maybe even for community boards that might be, against something like this, they might be taking a second look at a development that would feature these kind of elements on the building. Well, it would definitely save them money first. And then maybe we will just, teach people maybe to live within that means. You don't necessarily need to consume that much energy to get the same quality of life. You can live very well without really being hooked up to a grid that it's just burning coal to create energy. You could have the same quality of life by just turning on your lights, and basically that's just pure solar energy coming straight into your house. Not through a window, but through a light bulb and through a solar panel. So I would say beyond money, it's probably just literally helping people understand that you can live well without really having a huge impact on the environment.
Right, I mean, basically changing attitudes toward this sustainability and green living. So it makes you realize that you can live perfectly sustainable and green without making any sacrifices.
Yeah, it makes you feel good, like you're pretty much helping future generations, your kids, your grandkids, to still enjoy this planet, I guess, as it is today, as we know it today.
Right.
Unique weather conditions and climate change. Well, unique weather conditions, we have a lot of.
We just had Sandy,
Yeah, we just had Sandy.
and
That's true.
the structure is in a very, very high hurricane wind area. It's right by the beach, and it was hit pretty hard by the hurricane, and nothing, absolutely nothing happened to the structure.
Yeah, but I guess the question is much more of like changes such as
No, I was
let's
just
say
giving
wind
an
speeds,
example,
how
right,
that impact. I mean, increased wind speeds will definitely help the building. You'll have a better efficiency factor on your wind turbines.
Right.
Even though you
Global
might not
warming,
want
you'll
that.
get more energy through solar panels.
Yeah.
And even like different weather conditions, because the building is so well insulated, from the exterior by using these special types of walls.
Maybe we're looking at it in the wrong, from the wrong angle. Maybe we could just say that we'll definitely stop a building like this one, and more buildings like this one will definitely stop. This global warming process. All these changes in the weather conditions. Around the globe by simply just burning less gas, less coal, less oil. So it is a green building. I think it could, if you would have, let's say, I don't know, 60%, 70% of the building stock in the city using this kind of technology, you'll probably cut back into how much gas, how much coal you use to produce all this energy tremendously. You would not have to, cross Kosciuszko Bridge and read on that screen that tomorrow you're gonna have to pretty much not really drive because you're gonna have all that smog, all that pollution happening in the city because of certain weather conditions, hazy day and that kind of stuff. It would not happen. You would not have this kind of situation. So I would say, in the end, that probably more buildings like this one would definitely help. Maybe slow down this climate change process, or maybe stopping it altogether in the end, and just let the nature take its course and rebalance maybe all the ecosystems on the planet. I would say that probably this would be the result if you would have more of these buildings.
I totally agree. I have nothing to add here.
Well, we do believe in balancing things, right?
Yeah.
It does happen.
Yeah.
It's just the way it works. And sometimes even the global warming, it could be a response to balancing things in a way. We do something. It's just it's trying to balance all these systems. By basically raising the temperature. Anyway, I'm not a specialist on global warming, so let's stick to the structures.
Yeah.
With this project, yes. And I would say that maybe to some extent with pretty much anything we do. Because in the end, all we do when we design structures, and that's for many reasons, like we always try to design efficient buildings, that use as little as possible material, that's obviously for financial reasons, so projects can get through, but indirectly I would say that we do have an impact on how much steel is being produced around the world, and the types of buildings we design, I think, are helping keeping that to a minimum, and having an efficient production of steel, production of cement, concrete. It comes down in the end to pure engineering, I would say, methods, So even though we do it for financial reasons, I guess indirectly
Well, not
we
only
do
we're
control
trying
it.
to find, the most, innovative building solutions to, of course, to cut costs, and not only that, but to provide better solutions for all the other equipment, in the building and for the building itself, and to reduce its impact on the environment. Absolutely. And we're just the structural engineers. We're just helping design the skeleton, if you will, of the building. But around this, everything else, it's attached to it, and everything else that can, better the quality of life and, saving the environment and all these other things. But it all comes down to finally to our job and how we all work together as a team, because in a team you have architects, you have engineers, structural engineers, mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, plumbing. All these systems is like creating a body, basically. And each of these systems has its role, and like I said, we're the skeleton. So, but if you look at a building as a system, and you're trying to have this system, consume less and have less of an impact, on the life and environment, we all be part of this. And I think the trend is towards this. And buildings like this are a huge step in the right direction.
Yeah. I'd say that sometimes innovation means to actually get back to some of the old traditional systems, surprisingly.
Yeah.
Having the courage to go back there, not necessarily trying to find something new. As strange as that might sound, but that's a reality sometimes. Buildings like this one, we're actually interviewing now, and this is it definitely, they put a lot of energy in, doing all this brick, and the terracotta fireproofing and all this stuff. But in the end, the building throughout its life, and I've seen studies for buildings like this one, it's really very efficient.
Like this one right here.
Like this one right here, yeah. You would be surprised. I mean, the amount of energy that gets into this building to cool it off or to warm it up in the winter, it's quite decent. It's limited. It's not something that like it's an old building. Everyone would think it's not an efficient building. It's not true. It wasn't that efficient when it was built, I guess.
Well, yeah.
There's all this clay and it was being burned, and like all these bricks, all the terracotta. I guess that was, but they cut a lot of trees for that.
Well,
Yes,
sure.
definitely, absolutely. First of all, you're just one block away from the beach.
Exactly. That's what I was gonna say. You're
Yeah.
by the beach.
No, but that joke aside, it's
And all the nice Russian
it
restaurants.
would be nice, and it would be, at least for me personally, a few questions. Some of the questions were like actually related to how it would improve the quality of life and everything. It would really make me feel better as a person, living in a building like this one. And I'm that kind of a person that likes to live within its own limits and be conscious of what's happening around him when you litter trash or all these things. Like what's the impact on the environment, or you just turn your lights on. Like what is that energy coming from? So that would really make me happy. Like just knowing that hey, I'm using natural sources to lit up my light bulb in the kitchen. It's great. It would make me feel good, definitely. So I would like to live there.
Especially as engineers, it's it's cool to see all these systems, all these like smart systems around you. We're engineers, and when we see something smart, we really like it. So
Yeah.
to live in a building that's smart, the whole building, it's a great feeling.
I
I'm
would
sure.
probably, turning on the TV and I would be like, oh, we're gonna have 40 miles per hour winds, and I'll be like, oh, great. I'm charging the grid and
Yeah.
I'm storing up some energy. It would be good news for me, I guess.
And the movie's faster.
Yeah, that's true.
The whole team to use this structure not only like a support for a regular building, but also to host all these systems. That's why we mentioned before having two different structures, one for the building and one surrounding the building for all the solar panels and the wind turbines. That was one thing. We mentioned also exposed structure, exposed steel in inside the apartments, and also it was a very efficient job on design on our side. It was very low. Usually you count steel by pounds per square foot, and for a normal building I would say 12-13 pounds a square foot is a real cost saving, and we had about 8.
Yeah, I think
It was a,
8.5 pounds per square foot.
we worked really hard, and Robert was pushing us really hard to save money and to also, create this structure for all his systems. So it was a great challenge.
Yeah. I would say that, the system we used and connections, concepts and everything, it's pretty much what you would see everywhere. It's just the way the whole thing was put together was a little bit different. And as Chris mentioned, having those panel structures, some of them, the outside structures, exposed structures dedicated for the green elements of the building. I would say that was innovative, and we really had to come up with ideas of how to connect those to the main building.
Without penetrating the walls.
Through the envelope of the building. Yeah, that was probably one of the biggest challenges we had. And then I think we used really light members. I'm thinking to the ladder system of the building. It was very nice, easy, slim system we used. Like light elements, and it did help. I mentioned early on this unique site condition where they couldn't really have a crane, so I think the building was pretty much erected by hand.
So we also, besides all the challenges, to support all these green systems, it was a logistics problem because it was on a very narrow street, so you can't really bring a crane. So all the members had to be designed very small, so they could be brought to the site, by using just very small, like portable.
I could go as far as saying that probably one unique result of the fact that the building was so light. It was the very limited impact during construction on the neighboring properties.
Right.
I'm pretty sure that most of the neighbors, they really didn't feel like they had a building, going up. Like the usual job sites. Trucks coming around, crane, sidewalks closed, and all these things. I mean, this was very non-intrusive in a way. They really got a lot. They had a small area of access to the building, and they built it. And it was
very
like small
efficient,
elements. It was very efficient. So I would say like
in a very short time.
Short time.
Very short time.
So it's like one day you're just walking down the street, you decide to discover that there's a building being built there, like.
Yeah, it usually happens that way because they're pretty fast, especially with steel structures. They can literally in a week just erect like an entire building, like a shopping center. And it was pretty much the same situation here, but without really seeing the cranes. You know what I mean? Like you don't see the crane, you don't see it happening. Like you said, you probably just walk down the street. The next day it's like, hey, there is a building. I haven't seen a crane. I haven't seen a truck. I haven't seen anything. It just happened, which is great.
So how long did it take to build the structure?
To build it or to design it?
Well, both.
I don't know exactly how long it took to really build. Like
it was really fast
It was probably days, I'd say.
The steel structure.
Obviously, once you have the structure erected, it takes a while until you tighten all the bones, all the connections, you plumb up the entire structure.
And then you have to put all the other systems on.
Design, I think, was pretty quick. The design.
Everything was quick. We were being pushed really hard for this.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly how long it took, but it wasn't really a process that took very long, and mainly because it was a very well coordinated team. I mean, we really knew what we have to do. The entire thing. The architectural intent was clearly defined. It was a clear idea what we want to get. Mechanically, it was a clear idea what systems they want to employ. And then the structure was just a natural result of all these things.
And even later in the project, we worked with the construction managers. They were complaining they couldn't bring, like you said, a crane. So we had to find solutions to design even smaller members and
Yeah, but that
splice
was
them in
quick,
pieces.
right?
And this was
Quick
like
responding.
very quick response to that. Yes.
Yeah.
So it was like a Lego building, right? Because we designed really small pieces. They would go together and being assembled without the crane and without a lot of disturbance to the neighborhood.
Well, I would love to work on other projects like this one and to see more of these
To
projects
see more of
happening.
that.
Yeah, that would be really nice, really interesting. And we do see projects that are really not as involved into the green part of the design process, but people are trying. People are trying to do this through different methods. Sometimes very, as I said, very conservative and traditional, buildings can yield very nice green designs. So yeah, I would love to work on more projects like this one, definitely.
And I just want to go back one more time to my initial statement and say it's all very nice, to be green and to feel better about yourself by being green, but a real revolution can take place unless you bring like a financial incentive to this. And not a financial incentive by, getting tax credit, but just seeing that you not only can save the planet and be sustainable, but also save money and money from your own wallet by doing this. And this is the real revolution. I think, people like to have a better place for their children and grandchildren, but unless something is being done to reduce the cost and to really even save money, this will speed up the process tremendously. I think that's about it.
Well, thank you.